And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Yeah, look it. It's Big John McCarthy and the man, the myth, the legend. Look at the jawline. It's Josh.
The Pork Thomson.
The pork, baby. What's up, man? How you doing, baby? The pork. He's a dude. The pork already outweighs you.
Easily. Probably was very close to me when you first got him.
Oh man,
What is he, about 200 now?
Yeah, he's solid, man. Got some big balls too, just like you.
Do they mount themselves, or you have to jerk them off and then inseminate?
Oh God, no. They think
they do it all themselves. Even
man.
That big ass belly.
They just get deep in there, man. Balls deep.
That's fucking great. I mean, if you're gonna name him Josh the Pork Thomson, you might as well name him Balls Deep. Let's go, baby. Let's go, guys. We're
gonna get like a sexual harassment straight.
We're gonna do a fan Q&A today. But before we get started on that, there was a fight announcement that we wanted to talk about. It was Diego Lopes versus Sadiq Yusuff. Great fight, man. Absolutely great fight.
It's a great match.
Good step up in competition for Diego, and I know that he fought Evolov. What's Evolov?
He fought Evolov.
Was it?
In his
that's right.
Fight on a last minute.
Forgot. That's why I had it. I thought it was Mokaev, but no, it was Evolov. Was it Evolov?
No, Mokaev is 125.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm getting them all. Yeah. Diego Lopes. Yep, right there. Okay. But yeah, overall, sorry. They're all the names sound alike. That's one big run-on sentence. But this to me is a great fight. You got Sadiq Yusuff, who's fast on the feet. He's got good wrestling. Been utilizing his wrestling a little bit more lately.
Coming off of a loss.
Yes, I agree. But Diego, though, is coming on. He's got fire. Diego's caught fire. The confidence is there. The UFC is high on him, and they're going to do what they can to push this young man.
How could you not
Absolutely
be?
Fantastic.
Let's be honest. He is. I gave him the submission of the year, I believe, based upon just the way he pulled it off and his transition game. He's got it all. He is a handful. Now, Sadiq is athletic, fast, got power in his hands. His last fight against Edson Barbosa, though, he had one good round, and the rest of them just started to get away from him, and he wasn't able to pull the trigger the way he normally does. This will be interesting because he's going to be having to fight off a guy that can go anywhere with the game, no matter where Sadiq wants to be. He's comfortable there, and he might end up getting it to the ground. I think is a place that he does have a distinct advantage over Sadiq. But great match.
I think on the feet he's got a pretty good advantage. I wouldn't say advantage, but
power wise,
power wise. But I think Diego being just a little bit more of that grittier fighter who will dig deep in the exchanges, who will make it a dirty, grimy fight. He'll get in the clinch and elbow and knee, and he'll also stay on the outside and try to kickbox with you. And then if the fight does hit the ground, I think he's leaps and bounds better than Sadiq Yusuff on the ground. I like what the UFC is doing with him. And I think if you're Diego, you understand they like me. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Because look,
they like
that's
me.
Important, John. You know as well as I know
it is
being liked by the higher ups is very important.
You were going to say Dana.
Yeah,
but
Dana.
Okay. He's liked by Dana.
Even if they're,
I don't blame Dana.
Yeah, I like him too. He's got a good look to him. He fights his ass off.
Yeah, the mullet.
He's marketable. He's marketable though.
He is. He's great. He fights and he fights at a fast pace. He's fun to watch.
I think this is going to be a great fight. I'm going to lean towards Diego though. The confidence, the feeling of now UFC feels like home.
Well, and what you're saying is they like him. Look at what card he's on.
Yeah,
that tells you
it's a great card for him. Yeah, absolutely. If you get thrusted onto the 300 card, you know that they're trying to put some
you're in good standing.
Exactly. Josh Thomson wouldn't have been on that card. They would have never put me on.
No.
So, all right, but yeah, overall that's gonna be a great fight. But we're gonna get into some fans Q&A, and if you guys don't know what that means, that there's a question and then we give you an answer, the best to our ability. possibly an answer to the best of our ability. But before we do that, make sure you guys smash that subscribe button there in our YouTube channel. Hit the little thumbs up and the bell notifications. I want to thank you guys for continuing to support us. Look, we couldn't have done any of this without you guys. You guys keep flooding our comment sections, and I keep replying to you guys, whether it's good or bad. Just take it on the chin, guys, because you're all taking the L. I'm the one with the mic, and I'm the one delivering L's, okay? That's what I do around here. But I love to get into the comments every once in a while and have some fun with you guys and reply to you guys. And this is another way for us to kind of hit back into the comments or into the queue. You guys put up some questions. We're going to try to give you the answers the best we can. Continue to support us, and we thank you. Share our content out to everyone as much as you possibly can so we can try to continue building our subscribers. But if you are not a subscriber right now, you have to subscribe, hit the bell and the notifications because we drop some random shows here and there. We do have another show probably either dropping later today, or sorry, this won't be today. Josh does it every time. There will be a show. There will be some shows that come up that we'll be dropping periodically throughout the week. Don't be surprised if you miss it. So if you hit that bell, you won't be surprised. You'll get the notification. Dave, what do you got for us in terms of questions?
Yeah, we'll start with HSalt351, who wanted to know, is UFC 300 too quick of a turnaround for Duplessis versus Adesanya?
I don't think so. If he's not injured, I think it's actually a good turnaround. I think the motivation is there. I think a good, 2-3 weeks off to let his eye heal. Get the cardio in. That's all you really need to worry about right now. He's not going to get any. There's not going to be any skills that he gets a lot better at. So don't rush into jumping back into the fight camp in terms of training. Rush back into making sure that your conditioning doesn't get too far out of hand. The problem with people that turn around and do a quick turnaround is that last week after they fought, they go out and eat pizza and hot dogs and soda, and that's what I did, and that's what a lot of people do. Lots of beers, whatever it is, your extracurricular activities, whatever that is. A lot of fighters go off and do that after that first week because you got a paycheck now and you're free. You have nothing lined up, so you're free to do whatever you want. If he kind of understood what was going to happen, he went right back to home, probably enjoyed a 2 or 3 or 4 day period of, eating healthy, but good food and a lot of it. And then also probably should be getting back onto his conditioning and cardio, giving his body a good 4 to 5 days of rest, eating healthy and clean food, and getting ready for the stitches maybe to come out below his eye and his eye to swelling and go down, maybe hitting the mitts, maybe shadow boxing, whatever it is to break a sweat throughout those days, but then getting ready. I don't think it's a quick turnaround. I don't think so. I think it's good for him in this process, understanding the motivation to fight Izzy on probably the biggest card in the last 5-6 years or something like that. I think it's a good opportunity for him to capitalize and build his name even bigger in the South African market.
I agree with you. Everything you're saying, I look at it. If you're going to take a look and say, look, he fought in January, end of January. He's got 10 days, okay, to go and heal up. He's got another month from there that he can just take and make nice, easy, process back into the gym, keep his cardio up. But even at that end of February, he's got March and part of April. You could have a good 8-week camp, no problem, no stress with it, no different than any other, where you can get yourself ready. So it's just a matter of, does he want to? Does he feel healthy and does he want to? But the question is, does Izzy want to do that fight? Because I've heard multiple times, nope, not going to do it. Now, he may be saying that because, people in the UFC are telling him, don't tell anybody, and that's okay. But does he want that fight, and does he want it on that date?
John, I saw a picture of Izzy, I think on the Volkanovski Instagram. He looks a little thick around the waist right now. So maybe he doesn't start the camp coming in. I know we still have time. Let's not get, look, sure. It's not like he's another fighter that he said he went away, but this is really just a maternity leave. He's only been gone for about 6 weeks, if that. He hasn't been gone that long. Yeah. Let's not put it into this big thing. He's been gone for 2 years and he's coming back. No. This guy literally missed like a week of training probably, and they just went out and enjoyed himself, and now he's back. I mean, let's not over emphasize the fact that he's been gone for since October. When did he leave?
Oh my God! What his fight
Fought
with Sean
Izzy.
Strickland was
October, right?
November.
I want to say
Okay.
November.
Yeah, so
End of
he's-
October, beginning of November.
Yeah, so I think if he
So no time
and
at
look,
all.
we're just speculating that this fight could potentially be the headline for 300. And if it's not, it's not. No big deal. And if Izzy wants more time off, more time off. This fight card is stacked. They're doing what they can. I mean, they just added the Kayla Harrison, the Diego Lopes. I mean, they're adding fights. So, and it's already a stacked card. It's going to be a great card. I think every fight's going to be entertaining. As of right now, it seems to be that way. So there's a lot of excitement about the card itself. I think people were just waiting for this big fight announcement to happen as a main event. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Look, some of the shittiest cards on paper ended up being some of the best cards, and some of the best cards on
Absolutely.
paper ended up being some of the shittiest cards. So let's not look
True.
too much into it. Let's see if the fighters come out because it is UFC 300 and they deliver. That's really what you should be thinking. That's really what you should be thinking the most. What
I
else you
agree.
got, Dave? Next.
All right. La Flamme 5276 asks, when realistically could we see a rule change for the knees to a grounded opponent? People seem to use that technically to avoid damage by putting fingertips on the ground, like this weekend at 297. Evloev, Mokaev, Walker, Sterling.
John? John, take it away, buddy.
I think you're going to see a change to that fairly soon. You got to figure that the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combative Sports, they meet once a year, and that's in July, normally towards the end of July. But they have been doing things like Zoom calls and things where they can vote and stuff. And this is something that, there's all kinds of things that need to be changed, and I think you will be seeing changes to the rules coming up this year. Will one of those be, the changing of a ground fighter? Maybe. I don't know what else to say.
I think if we did see a change, John, would it be more of them trying to get away from knees to a grounded opponent at all, or would it be more of them trying to just let it open up to being like, look, we're going to go ahead and just
they're
start
never going to open
kneeing
it.
people?
They're not going to open it up like what you had from Pride or what you had from, we'll say one FC, what they do. Well,
I get it.
You're just not
Baby
going to get
steps.
there. And so baby steps, that's exactly it. So what you want to do is you want to do something that is clearer to everybody. Is the wording of the rule needs to be, there's no doubt. You can do this, and once you're in this position, you're grounded. Right now, the problem is you have too many variations of a rule. It's one of the problems with the sport of MMA is we are governed by government. What does the government do well?
Not a fucking
Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. There you go. So to sit there and there's no sports besides boxing and MMA that are controlled by the government. The government sets up athletic commissions for their individual states. That state, puts the people in that they want. Doesn't mean that they know anything about boxing or MMA, but usually those are positions that are handed to people by governors, but because, you did me a favor, you donated money to my campaign, all these different things. Sometimes they put people there that really do know. Sometimes they don't. So you got to look and say, these are the people that are going to make decisions. And right now we have Nevada has its rule. The rule of the hand on the ground must be bearing weight. Okay. That goes all the way back to, 2001. And what I came up with when I saw someone put one finger down to the ground, I said, look, no, that's not going to be it. You have to bear weight on your hand. You have to show that you're trying to be a grounded fighter. So that's in Nevada. That's where it is. If you look at the unified rules, it used to, we went from one hand to, you had to put two hands. And the reason for putting two hands was not because we wanted a fighter to put two hands down. We wanted them to do something different. Don't put two hands down. That's stupid. Put your knee to the ground, put your butt to the ground, put yourself as a grounded fighter, put your hands in a position to protect yourself. Then people got caught up in the language, didn't like it, and put it back towards, okay, one hand down, either palm down, fist down, had to be that way. That's your problem, is you have three variations that are still out there. And it's wrong. It's wrong for the fighters. It's horrible for the officials. This is what Mark Goddard got caught up in with the Arnold Allen versus Evolov fight is he has a commission telling him before the fights, look, we go by the New Jersey rules. Okay. There is no New Jersey rules, but he's told that. And he's going, what do you mean New Jersey rules? Which is saying I'm going all the way back to 2001 where someone can put a fingertip down and they're going to be down. Ridiculous. But this is where we're at. Do I think there's going to be a change? I do. Do I know more than that? Yes, I do. But I think there will be a change.
Well, so then should I be like media and just keep prying until I get the answer I want? Is that what I should do here? Because
yeah, that's what you should do.
No,
you're not going to get it.
So what you're saying is there's a chance. They're saying there's a chance that there's going to be a rule change.
You're just saying there's a chance. There's a chance.
I've heard some.
And there's
okay.
Here's the big thing, Josh, does there need to be
Absolutely.
a change? Okay. And that's the whole point. There needs to be a change. It needs to be more clear, and it needs to be where everyone knows, oh, he's grounded. Oh, he's not. Oh, she's grounded. Oh, she's not. And that can be done.
My ideal to being a grounded opponent, if my butt or my hips are touching the ground, you are grounded. Outside of that, it should be fair game. That's just my, it's just butt and hips. The rest of the stuff, I could be mounting into some sort of offense. And that's the thing. Even if I'm on all fours, and my forearms are touching, not even just my hands, my forearms and my elbows are touching.
If your forearms are touching, you're going to be
I get what you're saying, but that's still an offensive position for me because I can still grab and snatch a leg when you try to knee me in the head. So I should be allowed to knee you in the head because that also opens up the opportunity for me to get taken down. I get what you're saying.
Again, remember what you're saying?
Baby step. I get it. I just feel that if your hips or your butt or your back are on the ground, you're a grounded opponent. But if I'm on all fours, the opportunity for me to grab your leg when you knee me in the head is there, and that means I can mount an offense. Anytime I can mount
there's no doubt that you're always going to be able to mount an offense from a position, be it a good offense or be it a poor offense. You're going to be able to mount an offense from a position, even from your back. You can mount an offense. Okay. There's going to be that point. Can you throw up a triangle from your back? Can you? That's offense. Can you go after an arm? Of course. So you got to look and say there's always going to be any position you can mount an offense. It's which position is it that it's clear you're on the ground, and if you're on all fours, if you're on your knees with your forearms on you're on the ground. You're not a standing fighter, and so that's where the rule would be protecting you from being kneed to the head.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see that change here soon because it needs to happen. And eventually one day maybe we'll get rid of this whole 12-6 bullshit.
That's gonna go.
Like,
say
fingers crossed. Let's go.
We're getting smarter. We're getting smarter.
You said government, and you said smarter, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'll believe it when it happens. Look, I've sat in those, and I've been there at the California Commission, and outside of Andy Foster, the rest of them have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And I'll leave it at that. All right. What else you got for us, Dave? Another one?
Yep. SUMCUIQUE. Do not know how to say that. 93 asks, who should Chimaev fight next? Maybe Marvin Vettori?
Yeah. I mean, look, I said yesterday, I did an OnlyFans live yesterday. If you guys haven't subscribed to us over there, subscribe to us over there at onlyfans.com/weighing in. I did OnlyFans live yesterday. It was in the real good conversation with probably, 20, 30 people. It was great because we were talking about this exact thing. He hasn't fought one contender at 185 pounds, and he's over here saying he deserves a title shot. Give me somebody in the top 5. You have a dominant performance or you look good at 185 pounds against someone in the top 5. I'll go ahead and warrant, and I'll say that go right ahead and give him a title shot because the hype is around him. But right now, after listening to his interviews and all this, he sounds like a crybaby. I was promised this. I was promised that. Since when does Dana give a shit what he's promised? Okay. We've seen before in the past. He's promised fighters a lot. Look, you didn't have a great performance against Kamaru Usman. You lost the 3rd round against a guy who's a pumped up 170 pounder who's pumped up to 185.
Well, not only pumped up
on short notice,
a guy that came in on a couple days notice.
Yeah. So
and you're losing the third
Yeah.
round to him.
Not a good look. And I said this last week, and I said it also on the OnlyFans Live, was that he hasn't looked the same since he got COVID. His conditioning, his cardio, I haven't seen him fight long either, though. But I've seen some of his old fights where he went a little bit later, like in the second round.
He always, the farthest he ever went was the
second round. But he looked like he was fine. Since he's gotten COVID, he seems like his lungs are hurting in some way. He's had problems with his conditioning since then. At least that's what I've seen. So I need to see him fight someone like a Marvin Vettori or Jared Cannonier. I need to see him fight one of those top level guys before I go out there and say, hey, let's give you the title shot.
And I agree with you. And those are the two guys that I actually would pick. I would say, let's put you against Jared Cannonier. Let's put you against Marvin Vettori. If you want someone in that top 5, position. If not, I want to put you against Bo Nickel.
I would say Roman Dolidze's my guy. That's the guy that I want to see him fight because he's got the wrestling. I agree with you with Bo Nickel. It's not fair to throw someone who's had this much experience against someone like Bo, who's only had 4 fights.
Yeah, I don't look at it that way. And the reason why, first off, you know a little bit about the background of Bo Nickel. I know a little bit about the background of Bo Nickel, and he's been doing this a lot longer than people realize. And all of the wrestling, the amateur wrestling that he's done, is all set into being prepared for competition and it being something that he's incredibly comfortable with. And at this point, he's comfortable with the transition into MMA and the fighting. You can see it in his stand-up. You can see the way he's now just, taking his time in fights. I'm not saying Chimaev doesn't have more experience in an MMA cage. He does. But he doesn't have more experience overall in competition. And so I think
you don't think with like Sambo matches and all that stuff, he doesn't have as much competition?
No, because he really didn't do Sambo. You got to figure he grew up in Sweden for the most part. So he wasn't doing the same background as like a Makhachev or any of those guys. Those guys are doing, hundreds of Sambo matches as, kids growing up and stuff. And yes, they have a ton. He didn't have that. He had wrestling and he, he competed a lot, but he didn't have the same amount as the guys coming from Dagestan.
This is true. He just needs to fight somebody that's in that top position, in that top 5. Give me the top 5. You have a good performance. Even if you ink out a win, I'm still going to probably give you the title shot because it's there. It's there for you. You've done all. I think he's brought a lot of hype into whether it's the welterweight division or the 85-pound division. He brought a lot of hype to the UFC. People want to see him fight for the title. I'm fine with that, but you got to get into that top 5. Give me somebody in the top 5. Yeah. Even if you win a close decision, I'll take it because I know that the guys that are right now at the championship level, who's the champ right now? It's DDP and Strickland. So DDP and Strickland's fought pretty much all those guys in that weight class. Izzy's fought all those guys. He's kind of wiped out the division outside of Sean Strickland and DDP. And then you've got Chimaev and Dolidze kind of making their run right now, and Bodo kind of pull up the caboose and kind of making his name. So I just want to see him fight somebody in that top 5. Give me a win, and then I'll go ahead and give you the title shot or honor you the title shot. But you got to get a win against the top guy before you're giving a title shot.
Well, and that's really my only complaint about Chimaev is all your wins are really against 170 pounders. And look, you've beaten some good people. I'm not, Kamaru Usman, phenomenal fighter. Gilbert Burns, phenomenal fighter. You've beaten good fighters, but it's always been that those fighters have been giving you problems near the end of that fight. And that's saying something about, well, how does your cardio go when we're going towards a 5-round fight? And in the 185-pound division, he doesn't have any wins against anybody that you go, that's a real 185-pound fighter. That's someone that, as you're saying, is in the top 5 or even top 10. So
next.
All right. This next one here from Hugh W. Dance. It's a long one, so get ready to absorb all of this and then and respond accordingly. Should the UFC stop advising against 10-10 scoring rounds?
Okay, stop there. Just stop there. Let's answer that one first. Let's break this up in sections because I'm looking at it too. So let's go ahead and should the UFC stop?
He's trying to give examples, by the way.
Okay, go ahead, give examples.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, in so many close title fights, I see people saying it's all depends on who you give the round X to, like whichever round, which was very close. If those rounds are close or it's not clear who won, shouldn't we just accept the round for what it is, a draw? Under this approach, several title fights may possibly have gone differently. Recently, Strickland DDP, Valentina Grasso 2, Cejudo Sterling, etc. I know this may increase overall number of fights which are scored draws, but there are cleaner and better ways to fix that than the current approach. Keen to get you guys' thoughts on this. Thanks for the great content as always.
All right. So when you're taking a look and saying, should the UFC stop advising? UFC doesn't advise anybody because they're not the regulators. When you're looking at the UFC as a company, they're a promotion. They do self-regulate when they go to certain international locations. Taking a look at, going to United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, they do bring a British coalition that, helps them, but they're really kind of in charge of it. And they do that in certain places. But for the most part, you're talking about commissions or regulating bodies like Brazil. They have their officials, and they're the ones telling their officials what they want. No commission wants to have judges that freely give out 10-10 rounds because most rounds are not 10-10. And here's the difference that what you need to figure out. I was just on a call last night that Andy Foster from California, who Josh mentioned recently, he puts on a training thing. He asked me to be on it. I sat there on the whole thing. And part of it was reffing, part of it is judging. And we watch fights. We watch fights that people complained about. Ones that you can look at and say, this is very good as far as comparable and why. But you're looking at when people sit there, and there was a fight between Semmelsberger versus Wells. Great fight. Semmelsberger in the beginning of that round hurts Wells twice, puts him down. Okay. Hurts him to the point you look and you go, almost can stop this fight. Wells works his way out of it and works his way out of it to the point where he, for a longer amount of time, puts on good ground and pound and accumulates a lot of what we call accumulated damage, not instantaneous damage like he was hurt with the knockdowns. But you take a look at the fight, and there was, people that went both ways, some giving it to Semmelsberger, some giving it to Wells. And the whole point of it is they have to equate who did the best in that round. And some are going to sit there and say, well, you could just make it a 10-10 round. No, you can't. Because there was somebody that won the round if you take a look at it. The problem for Semmelsberger is, when did he hurt Wells? Early in the round. The first 25 seconds. Right? And he hurts him, goes after him, and then Wells, somewhere about, a minute 45 into it, he starts to turn it around. He's doing well. And we remember things at the end of the round more than we remember what was at the beginning of the round. If that fight had switched where Wells did really good for the first 3.5 minutes, and in the last minute and a half, Semmelsberger knocked him down twice and hurt him, there would be no doubt about who won the round. But these are the things that happen. And judging is not an easy concept. It's difficult. And you have to look at it, and you have to be able to systematically break it down in your mind of what is important. Is it important to have more volume, meaning I put more strikes on you, or is it more important to put damaging strikes or damaging effects upon you? Ones that put you in a position where you could lose the fight. That's the question. And you're always going to get people that are going to argue back and forth. That's why you'll get people arguing back and forth about, well, it's a 10-10 round. No. Usually the 10-10 rounds are the worst fights that you'll ever see because nobody's doing anything. When you have fighters that aren't doing anything, you can get into a 10-10 round because no one deserves the round. No one did anything in it. You both
Carla
sucked.
Esparza and Rose Namajunas.
Carla Esparza, Rose Namajunas. You both flubbed the duck, okay? It just is. That's when you'll get a 10-10 round. When you have a lot of action, no. You as the judge have to be able to equate why this fighter gets the 10 while this fighter gets the 9 in a very close round based upon, look, I'm going off of you were in a position where you were almost put out of this fight. That's the worst thing that can happen to you in the fight. And you made it through it. Congratulations. But you were hurt. You never hurt your opponent that way. Now, if you do and you bring it back, well, then we're talking about a different thing. But 10-10 rounds, they should be rare.
Yeah, I don't want to see 10-10 rounds. I want to see real.
People would not be happy if there was a bunch of 10-10 rounds. They would be all
pissed
off.
The other thing, too, is that you get a bunch of draws. And when you get a bunch of draws, both fighters are getting screwed. One of them's getting screwed out of some money. You can always say who won the round. It's up now. When fights like Rose and Carla, and then you have Stipe and Ngannou, Lewis and
Derek
Ngannou.
Lewis,
like those type of fights. Yeah, sure, they're painful to watch, and they're even more horrible to judge. But you've got to pick a winner because one person did that slightly a little bit more and deserves to get that pay. These guys are not like, even though we talk about, oh, the fighter pay is ridiculous, this and that, in terms of they don't get paid enough. Well, let's not just pay them less now, because by adding this 10-10 rounds, one of them's going to end up making less. So, no, I disagree with the 10-10 rounds. Next.
All right. Excuse me. Next question here from Uni Sally 7465. Why can't they make Tony versus Conor so that Tony makes so much that he can ride off into the sunset regardless of the outcome? Also, Conor might get a win. Why fight Michael when your confidence isn't back and you have no clue how you do with that leg?
Well, first off, it would be nice to get Tony a big paycheck. I'd love to see that. Tony's not going to ride off into the sunset. Okay? Tony's going to go out of this sport kicking and screaming. That's Tony. That's just the way he is, and he wants to fight. He believes that he can beat anybody at any time, and he believes he's still as good as he ever was. He's not going to stop if you gave him a big paycheck against Conor. The problem is going to be for Tony is he willing to take less money? Because eventually the UFC is going to say, am I getting what I'm paying for? Am I getting enough out of this fighter for what I'm paying this fighter to bring? And there'll come a point where they decide it's not worth it anymore. That's just if he continues to lose. You got Tony's 6. On what, an 8 fight?
I think it's 6.
Is it? I think it's longer than 6 even. What is it? It'd be interesting to see because he's on either a 7 fight. 1, 2, 7 fight. Yeah, that's a lot. You got to figure Sam Alvey was on a similar losing streak, but Sam doesn't cost what Tony cost.
Sam also didn't have the name that Tony has.
No, he doesn't. And that's why he didn't cost what Tony cost. But there comes a point, and you take a look at all those right there. That's a lot, and it happens to every fighter. It's there comes that point you're just not as good as you once were. You can't take the same shots as you once were able to. You're not as fast, so you can't land the same shots that you once were capable of. Everything changes. It's father time's a motherfucker. Okay.
Yeah, I think people are assuming that Conor's going to come back and fight Michael Chandler. I don't think we're going to see Conor this year.
It has happened.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see Conor this year. Like Dana came out the other day and goes, look, when Conor's ready, we'll see Conor fight.
When Conor's ready, we'll have a fight for him.
But I just
who that will be against, he still said, well, we're not sure.
And I disagree with the fact that when Conor's ready, we'll have a fight for him. I think that's BS also. I think right now is what you're seeing a holdout by the UFC on his contract. He has 1 fight left. He doesn't want, the UFC never wants their fighter to go away with 1 fight left on the contract. They don't.
There has to be a sunset clause on that eventually, though.
I mean, if they're basically offering someone, he's been extended now forever. So there's going to be some time, but it's going to take another year or 2. He had when was the last time he fought? 2021?
Yeah.
He fought in 2021. Conor? I think that
Yeah. I think it was at the
July,
end
yeah.
of 20.
No, it was July.
Was it July?
Okay, so
Yeah,
July.
July
So
10th,
we're
there you
going to
go.
come up
Yeah.
on a year. It'll be a late leg injury.
What?
3
Oh,
years.
sorry, 2021. I thought you said. I thought he said last July.
That's like, what?
No, I thought he said last July. I was like, okay, yeah. So this has been
No.
2021 in July. That extends your contract for another year. Now you're saying you were ready
In
Yeah.
July. In July, we got 3 years he's been gone.
Oh shit.
You know, look, you can take if you take a look at Conor, he's a different
Mhm.
person. He looks different. You know, it's just everything about him is not the look of a person that you say wants to be back in the sport.
Yeah.
Just
No, I
being
agree.
honest.
I agree. 35 years old. It's not going to get any easier for him. You know, him fighting anybody, whether it's
And this-
Chandler or whether it's, anybody.
And a lot of it, again, when I say he's a different person, what I'm saying is he's got 4 kids now.
I think so.
Mhm.
Okay. Back when Conor was being Conor and winning stuff, how many kids do you have?
Yeah.
0. Okay. Then he had his first son, and then he's got the 3 other ones now, and that's fantastic. Congratulations to him. But it changes who you are. It does. No matter what you want to say. Having kids changes you. It changes your perspective. It changes what you believe in. It changes your purpose. It changes what you're willing to go through and what you're willing to miss. There's a ton there, and he's going to have to decide if any of that's worth it. But he's a different person. It's okay.
Yeah, I think the UFC is going to be holding him out until he re-signs a new contract, and that sunset clause is going to last another 2 years. By then he'll be 37. They won't care what he does.
Yeah.
So if I can drag you out, offer you fights that we know you potentially don't want to take, I'll say like, hey, I want you to fight, Islam. He's gonna be like, fuck no, he's not taking that fight. He's not taking that fight. So,
I want you to fight Armin.
yeah, right.
Sarukian.
Like they're gonna be like, no, we're not. I'm not taking that fight. He may take the Islam fight because Islam's the champ, but like,
yeah, but he would take that one because.
but to fight Arman or to fight Gamrot or those guys, they'd be like, nah. And so I think that they are holding him out and holding him prisoner right now, I guess you would say.
Holding him hostage
right now.
What you wanna say?
Look,
Yeah.
they are notorious for doing this. They did it with me. They've done it with several fighters. When you come up on your last year,
Several.
almost everyone.
Several.
Almost everyone.
It's a common. It's a
If
common
they don't
occurrence.
re-sign you by your
That's what it
second
is.
fight, they're gonna hold you because they'll fight you at the last moment they can on your second to last fight. And then that last fight, they're going to keep pushing you out. Nope, we're not ready to fight you. Nope, we're not ready to fight you. We have time, but then they throw an offer out to your management and they wait for you to try and get re-signed. They want you to come to them going, hey, this is, what are we doing with our contract? Are we going to negotiate this? That's it.
Well, this is what people need to understand. The UFC, what does time mean to them? They got all the time in the world. As a fighter, your career is passing you by. The longer you wait, it's passing you by. You've only got so much time. So you're in that position. They can wait. You don't quite have that option. It's not quite the same.
What you have to, as a fighter, what you have to remember is if you're not making money for them, they're keeping you from making money from other promotions. So it's a win-win for them. If you're not going to fight for me, at least you're not making money for somebody else by fighting for them. So we're going to just hold you as long as we possibly can. And in that process, those years are ticking off and you're never going to get those years back. So that means those are years that you're not going to go somewhere else and help make somebody else more money. So they know what they're doing. They know that we can just sit here and just let you with our hands, just wash our hands of you. And you can sit over there and do nothing. And I'm going to keep extending you 4 months, 6 months in your contract. That's what they do. And if you turn down any fights, then they're going to say, oh, we're going to add that to your, as soon as you turn down a fight, like if they went to Conor and said, hey, we want you to fight Gamrot or Sarukian. And he said, no, that's a 6-month extension, 4 to 6 months. As soon as he turned around and said, hey, okay, I'm ready to fight again. Like, hey, I'm ready. Like, that's what they did with Nate for so long, Nate Diaz. And they'll say, okay, look, we'll give you, and then they offer you a different opponent, but it could be somebody else you didn't want. Nope. They extend you again, another 4 to 6 months. So they can drag this thing out as long as they want.
Oh.
It's It's a
So long.
process. And those are years, like John said, those are years you're never going to get back. Never.
But Josh, you don't think the contract, A, Conor probably has a different contract
No,
than
he
those
does not.
standard rules.
No.
And B, that he doesn't have a bit more kind of like negotiating
No.
power?
No.
Neither?
Well, I do think Conor has more negotiating power than any other fighter that the UFC has.
But it's
under
not written into the
contract.
contract. That's what I think. I felt like Dave was saying. It's not written in there that he is able to do this, this, and this. It's not. It's a handshake negotiation power. Like, hey, we'll listen to you because you're Conor, because you've done so much for the company. We'll listen to you, but we're not gonna allow you to step on us. We're not gonna let you bully us around. Look, remember when he said, "Oh, I'm gonna own part of this company"? Did that ever happen?
I want to be
No.
a partner.
They're like, kick rocks, kid. Like, it doesn't matter how big you are because they know you're not going to be in 5-10 years. We're going to bring in a new crew of fighters. They're going to worry about the Sarukians. They're going to worry about the Gamrots. They're going to worry about all the fighters, Kayla Harrisons. They're going to worry about the ones that are coming in to make them more money for this next step in this next gen. They're always looking for something new to replace what the old is. They're going to do the same shit to John Jones. They're doing it now. They're already like, nope, let's have John fight Stipe. And then guess what? Both of you guys right off into the sunset. We're just going to build up Tom Aspinall from here on out. He's young. He's talented. He's fast. We've got it. We've got this all. We've got Almeida there in the cuts, ready to come in too to fight Tom Aspinall. We've got guys that are younger and coming up. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this forever. They've been burned by BJ Penn. They've been burned by other fighters and understanding where they left and came back. GSP burned them at the double champ status. They know what they're doing. They've seen it all. Fighters, another fighter may get over on them one day. But as of right now, they've seen all of this happen already. They know what fighters do. And so they're hip to the game. They're not giving people any more power than they know that they don't need to. I'll give you a little bit here, but everything is going to be on a handshake, John. That's really what it is. Like when Khamzat Chimaev goes, well, yeah, you promised me a title shot.
You promised.
Is it in the contract? If it's not in the contract, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't want to hear it. It all comes back to take a look at what's happening with the antitrust lawsuit. All of the information that is now coming out in discovery, and look at some of the emails and texts between the higher ups, and look at the words they're using about some of the fighters.
Yeah,
it's not complimentary, okay? Because you need to understand the way they look. It's business.
Go ahead, say it again. I know. Say the Lorenzo quote again. Lorenzo told you one day. What is the quote he said?
He told me straight out. He goes, John, you need to understand. Friendship is friendship, and business is business. He goes, but friendship will never be business. And I was like, what? Yeah. Completely different aspect in the way that I looked at things. But that's why he's a billionaire and I'm not.
And so don't, I guess, when people go on social media and like talk harshly to me, or in the comments, they talk harshly to me. It's, look, I already have this understanding from years of dealing with, whether it's UFC, other promoters, whatever it is, of how they look at us as fighters. I've had friends that played in the NFL. I've had friends that played in the NBA. I have friends that play in the NBA now, and they have made it very clear to me. And they made it clear to me at a young age, when I was just coming up, these managers, these promoters, these people that work in the NFL and the NBA, they look at you as a dollar sign. Whatever your dollar sign is, and let's just say you have a $4 sign maximum. You're a $1 sign, a $2 sign, a $3 sign, a $4 being the max of like, hey, we'll give this guy whatever he wants. He's a maxed out player. If you're a $1 sign player, they don't pay any attention to you. Just collect your check and shut up and don't worry about it. Do what you're told. $2 sign player, same thing, but are you on the rise or are you on the decline? $3 sign, okay, we'll start giving you more. We'll start pushing sponsors your way. $4 sign is basically you're LeBron, you're Kobe, you're Jordan. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can fucking take the owner's hat and shit in it in the street, and he won't say shit because he knows what kind of money you bring in.
We're shitting in hats.
And it's a reality. So when all this discovery comes out, what did you expect them to say? Like, oh man, I love this kid. He's so great. Fuck no. They don't say that shit to each other. This guy's acting like a douche. He wants more money. Fuck him. That's how they talk about you guys behind closed doors. Don't act like when he says, oh, I love this kid. Behind closed doors, when your manager's talking to him, he's like, they're not saying that. Don't think and don't get your hopes up in believing that. It's not true. Okay, they maybe hang out with you or say hi to you, and but in reality, when it comes time to negotiate your contract, you see it all the time in major sports. John, am I right? You're the greatest thing since sliced bread. As soon as that contract comes up, he doesn't move the needle, as he said about Nate Diaz. People don't tune in for him, or it doesn't bring in the revenue that other fighters have done before in the past. They will come up with any excuse to say why they should pay you less, to justify why they should pay you less. So sure. That it's a what is that? It's the test of times or whatever it was, like the oldest something of time. It's a hard life. But anyways, like
hindsight is 50.
Yeah, hindsight's 50. All right, guys. Hey, before we move on, go to onlyfans.com/Wayne and subscribe to us over there. I've done a live show over there just yesterday. Or a couple days ago. I'm gonna do it again coming up here in the next day or so. Make sure you guys subscribe to us over there. It is free for you guys. Got my OF sweater, got my OF neon light, and make sure you guys subscribe to us over there. Look, we just talk about fights. You're not going to see any other content or smut unless you subscribe to that content or smut. If you subscribe only to us, the only thing that will come up on your feed will be us. That's it. If you subscribe to other fighters,
just our ugly
faces. If you subscribe to any other fighters, then you will be able to see their content as well. You will not be able to see any of the other smut whatsoever. So if your wife comes to you and goes, "Why do you have an OnlyFans account?" Tell her, "I follow the podcast. I follow the other fighters that are on there, and it's free." So it's not like it costs you money. And if any charges are ran through your credit card to go to OnlyFans, you better have a real justification to your wife. That is not on me. That is on to you. Okay. But we are free. We offer free. So there's no reason for your wife to come to you and go, "Hey, why you have OF charges on our credit card?" You don't have to worry about that because we don't charge. So if that's something you guys can explain to your wife and you feel comfortable coming over and supporting us over there, I do live shows over there. I'm going to do more of them now that I actually understand how it all works. Okay. And I plan on being on there a lot more. So ask questions away over there. This Q&A that we're doing now, I'm going to do them a lot more over there. So you guys can just jump on with us anytime you guys want. If you guys are free, and ask questions, especially when there's news that dropped like Kayla yesterday. That's why I went on, or not yesterday, but the other day when I went on there and we were able to talk about it. So join us over there at onlyfans.com/Wayne.
This next question from Sean Hester 8394. Is there any middleweight champ you think could beat GSP Prime versus 185 Bisping GSP? Like, so he's asking a fighter at 85 fighting GSP when GSP fought Bisping is what I'm reading right here.
I think a lot of them.
Look at George was a perfect 170 pounder. Okay. The frame that he had, the amount of muscle that he carried, his speed and everything fit perfectly into the 170. In fact, a lot of people would tell you that his frame was a little bit small for the 170 pound weight class. It was just the amount of muscle that he carried, especially in his legs and ass, and that put him in that 170 pounds. But at 185, I can tell you that, I did that fight with him and Michael, and in weighing in, just checking his weight, a couple days before, he was in jeans, a belt, shoes, no shirt, took the shirt off, and he weighed in front of me at that 187 pounds. And I was like, man, you're barely going to make this. And he was trying to keep that weight on. He wasn't that kind of guy that, he wasn't trying to put on extra weight because he didn't want to carry it because he was afraid of that, getting him tired. But at 185, there's guys that, could have kept him from utilizing a lot of the wrestling that he had just strength wise. There's some guys in there that would, cause him problems. Delice would cause him problems. Obviously a Bo Nickel, he's not going to out wrestle. A Chimaev, he's not going to out wrestle. Speed wise, he obviously has good speed, but there's guys that have power. And if there was one thing that George was always leery of, it was guys that hit hard. He did not do well against guys that had big power because he shied away from it. And I don't blame him. It's called being smart. He would pick them apart. He would sit there and he would use a jab and be smart with the jab and use his footwork. and not really engage in those, bite down on the mouthpiece moments. He would be smart in the way he fought. 185 was a good marketing thing for him with the right person in Bisping, because Bisping didn't have a lot of power. Bisping was a cardio athlete. He had great conditioning. He was tough as hell. He would absolutely fight anybody and put on a good performance, but he didn't have that big power. And that's one of the reasons George took that fight.
I would agree. I mean, George, if everyone I've talked to that's trained with him in terms of jiu-jitsu, they're like, man, he is so good on the ground. From Gordon Ryan to Frankie Edgar to all the guys that I know over at Hensel's that had trained with him and rolled with him, they're like, he's really good on the ground. Doesn't get enough credit.
I'll be honest. I was up at TriStar one time and watching George work out, and knew a couple of the guys that were up there as far as jiu-jitsu. And I watched George roll with them, and I was amazed. I was like, holy shit. He's making someone that I know is really good look pretty average. And he was dominating positions on him and passing and just doing things that you look at and you go,
yeah,
okay, you're way better than you even show in the fights. When you don't have the pressure of, making a mistake and you're not worried about it. Wow. He was really good.
I agree. I'd heard a lot of good things about him. I'd seen him train a little bit at Hensel's one time when I was there with Frankie, but I didn't get an opportunity to pay attention that much or that in depth because I was training myself. But yeah, everyone I've talked to said he was phenomenal on the ground. I think that was his wrestling ability, which he never wrestled when he was younger. He didn't pick that up until later. He just ingrained himself into wrestling programs. I believe he was wrestling at Simon Fraser and a couple other really good colleges up there in Canada. Yep. Simon Fraser has produced Olympic gold medalists, like I can't remember something Igali was a Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. He was wrestling up there around the same time or right after he came out of Simon Fraser. There was some really good wrestlers out of that college, and so he was able to pick those brains of those athletes, get better at wrestling. He wrapped his head around what it was and how to do it off of transitions. One of the smartest fighters I've ever seen step in the cage was George St-Pierre.
No,
hands down,
no doubt.
Next question.
From Ricard Red 17. Why do you think Belal and Leon hasn't been booked yet?
I think there's going to be a little bit of a pause in here. I think Leon wants to probably take a second to enjoy his being a champ. I mean, it's going to be honest. Like, it's when you win the title, it all comes so fast. And the last thing you want to do is rush right into the next fight. Aljo rushed into this last fight with Sean O'Malley because he was told about the pay-per-view numbers, going to get paid this and that, and the numbers were shit. It's like, this is what I got paid for, and I took the fight and I rushed it along. I could have spent time with family, could have done more things, in this little bit of a process. There is something to be said about literally like taking time to just decompress. And Leon, I think, needs to do that right now. He needs to take his time to decompress and enjoy this moment. And then when he's ready to fight Belal, he'll be ready to fight Belal. That's what I think is happening.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a matter. Every fight's different, and it's not so much sometimes the fight. It's everything that leads up to the fight. It's the marketing of the fight, all those things. Fighting Colby it's a pain in the ass. It's a strain on people because they're dealing with things that they aren't having to deal with. And it's something that, hey, I need time away from the sport just so I can get myself back to where I'm comfortable, and then we'll go again. I think it's just Leon taking his time and being smart. Enjoy being the champ. It's part of it.
Exactly.
Nacho Libre 6245. Big John.
Sorry.
Big John, if you were the ref for the Czech Congo Pat Barry fight, would you have stopped the fight earlier in favor for Barry?
No. I don't think I would have. I think everything that you're doing is what you're looking for, the reaction of the fighter. And Congo definitely got hurt. He was hurt big time. And you're looking to see that they stop. They stop trying to either move the positions. They stop trying to be offensive back. They stop trying to get away. And they just sit there and become a punching bag. That's when it's time. All right. We're looking at it. And it got close. But Congo was always trying to move and always trying to get himself back into the fight, and he was taking shots. But this is where you've got to understand, as you know, when we're teaching people as far as refereeing, these guys are professionals. This is their job. What we can't do is we can't keep them from being hurt. They're going to get hurt. That is part of what their job is. It's the hurt business. What you don't want is for them to receive what we call, I'm trying to say it the right way. There's damage, and then there's unreasonable damage. And you want to keep them from accepting unreasonable damage in the fight, damage that's going to make it to where they don't come back the same. But if they're trying in it, you got to let them go, even though you're close to stopping it. But I thought that Dan, you know, he got close. He got close a couple of times to stopping that. He let it go, and then obviously as the fight turned and Congo put Barry out with one shot, it made Dan look great. But I've had a lot of fights very similar to that, you know, and there's ones that you look at and you go, I should have stopped it one shot sooner. You know, it's going to happen when you're trying to let things go, but you also have to go off of the level of the fight. It has a lot to do with it. You know, championship fights, I'm going to let go a lot farther than I am a matched fight, based upon there's differences of pay. There's differences of people that have earned the right to be in that fight. You know, you're going to also do it based upon, you know, in that fight with Pat and Czech, first round. Look at, if a guy's going to come back and from being hurt, their best chance is in the first round because they've got cardio, they're in shape, and they're going to respond the best in coming back in that first round. So all those things are things that you're thinking about as you're looking and saying, show me what I need to see for me to stop this fight. And I'm being honest, I think I would have let it go.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, got that one.
From Special Fighter 93, Josh and John, if there was something you could have, would have, or should have changed about your fight and reffing career, what would it be? Thank you for all the great content, guys.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
For me, I would have just taken it more serious. It's about the whole career as a whole. There's not one specific fight that I would have changed. You know what I mean? Like, I just would have taken it more serious. There was moments early in my career when I was signed by the UFC in 2001, 2002, 2003, whatever it is, whatever. It just really would have, I was out having fun. I was literally would do my camps like 4 weeks, 5 weeks before the fight actually was. I mean, I was still training every day. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like intense, hard training. It was, but it wasn't like, I was training with other guys. I was training with Koss and Fit and Swick and getting them ready for their fights and all this other stuff. But, and even then, just taking it more serious, not being out at the clubs, you know, buying bottles, hanging out, basically just trying to be more well known. All this stuff was, you know, before social media. So you had to actually be out trying to shake people's hands and getting to know club owners and getting to know, you know, sponsors. You had to be out there socializing with them versus just doing stuff on social media now where you really don't even have to talk to your sponsors. You just got to be like, okay, look, here's the deal. Send me the contract, sign it. Okay, now I'll post about it and move on. You don't get a relationship with them anymore. Whereas back then you had to meet with, you know, Sprawl. Remember Sprawl, the clothing line Sprawl? You had to meet with Tap Out. You had to talk to them. You had to see if they actually liked you, if it was a good fit. There was all these companies that you had to meet with. Cobb 28, KTFO, you know, OTM. I mean, all these companies that were around that were clothing line companies. You had to meet with them, go out to dinner with them, go to nightclubs with them, because that's how you ended up getting sponsors. Oh yeah, I hung out with them. Now they like you, and now you guys can start talking money. Let me introduce you to my manager. Let's talk. But I would have taken it a little bit different. I would have done that type of stuff differently. You know, I spent too much time at the club. I spent too much time out and about, and I look back now and I'm like, man, it could have been different. It could have been different. So outside of that, no, nothing. I wouldn't change anything.
I would tell you, my situation is different than anybody else's based upon the sport when I came, to the sport in the beginning, what was there, it all changed in a weird way for me. But I would say if there was anything, I took the sport incredibly serious. I took my job very serious. I think if there was one thing I took it too serious, I would, if I could change anything, just telling you straight out, I would have said no to the UFC and other things at times when I said okay, and that I missed things with my kids. I missed, I wasn't there for, graduations at times because I was saying yes to I'll be where the UFC wanted me or something like that. I would change that. I made a mistake. Just being honest.
That's got to be difficult, right? Like it would be no different than, I mean, I say this, like I took fights knowing that it was like my cousin's wedding, like that day. Yeah. I took fights knowing that like the fight was like a week after Thanksgiving. I would have turned those fights down. I probably would say the same thing. I remember John Fitch and I being at AKA because we had keys, or I had keys, and I would come in, we'd come
or I had keys
and
no one trusted Fitch with the keys.
But I would come in at, after we'd have Thanksgiving, we'd come in at 10 o'clock at night and do bike sprints, on the assault bike. At 10:30 at night on Thanksgiving night, I have to leave Thanksgiving dinner with family and stuff and then go train. I get it. It's for your goals, your life. But those are memories you're not going to get back in sitting down, having a Thanksgiving dinner with your family.
That's it.
Yeah. There was a lot of things, that ways, like missing weddings, missing birthdays, missing barbecues, whatever it was, just knowing.
Prioritizing things in the correct fashion.
Exactly. I could see that too.
Yeah.
Next thing.
All right, well, let's wrap up on this last question here from Calamash 9657. Given that Dana has been waiting to release fights after updates from Ngannou or the PFL Bellator show, do you think that they're now beginning to get worried about competition?
Look at this.
No, they're not.
Like, here's the way to look at it. Does the UFC notice what the PFL is doing, what Bellator? Of course they do. They're a smart business. They're going to know what other people in their landscape are doing, are being successful with, are intruding upon, all these things. They're going to be up on it and knowing. But do I look at it and think that every day they're worried about? No, not at all. They manage their business. They manage their business very well. And they have their ideas and their goals of what they want to achieve now in the year of 2024. They know exactly what direction they want to go. That's the way of striving business that is making money and doing well. That's the way they operate. They're always, you need to understand when Dana, sits in front of a scrum and says, Bellator, they don't sell any tickets or anything like that. Why would I care? He knows exactly, that Bellator has sold out this arena. Bellator sold out that. He knows all that. He's not a dumb man. He knows, but he's going to put out there that I don't worry about that crap. I worry about my business, and they can do what they want because they don't mean anything to me. But he absolutely knows when something's going on and what they're doing. He is well informed. He knows the whole thing.
Yeah, John's correct. He knows because he also knows that after the Bellator goes to, like, say, the Accor Arena in Paris, he knows when they sell it out. He knows that when they are at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, though it's a venue that we can go to now, knowing that we can sell it out probably because Bellator sold it out. There's areas that they pay attention to see what the market is, and is it worth going to that market? Also, They will potentially probably go there 6 months to a year right after, so they're not flooding the market there, but they're also on top of it, giving it time to breathe. But then knowing that the last thing you remember is that the UFC was there, not that you went to a Bellator show 6 months ago. You remembered us being there last, and and then you can maybe compare which show you liked more or whatever it is to get more people to come your way. Dana knows what he's doing. Do I think that they're worried about PFL and Bellator? No, they don't need to be. They do their own thing. PFL and Bellator are doing their own thing. And that's why I liked what Peter Murray said today. Like, look, what we're doing right now with the PFL and Bellator is we're giving these fighters an opportunity to compete and compare themselves. compare themselves from Bellator to PFL and PFL to Bellator. That's an opportunity that every fighter and every fan has always kind of talked about. We want to see how that fighter would do in the UFC, or we want to see how that fighter from PFL would do against that fighter in Bellator or one championship. That's what they're creating. It seems to be that's what they're creating, I should say. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. They may in a year go, you know what? This whole thing didn't work, and let's just wrap it all up into one big promotion. You never know. But as of right now, it sounds like they're going to run 2 separate promotions. Champion versus champion. Well, this whole thing will be done annually. One time, they're going to run champion versus champion. It makes sense. We've been talking about this for a long time. PFL fighters will stay in the tournament format. Bellator fighters will stay in their championship series Bellator, and they will just run their formats separately. And at the end, or January every year, at the end of January or into February, they will end up doing champion versus champion, which is a win-win for, I think, everyone. And hopefully some fighters can come over, whether it's from UFC or whether it's from ONE or some new up-and-coming stars that they're going to be rising. Look, AJ McKee is a homebred fighter. Aaron Pico is a homebred fighter. I don't know of any homebred fighters that the PFL has. I can't really say what are some homebred fighters that the UFC has. Bo Nickel is probably just the first one. I would say he's probably he would be considered a homebred fighter. Give me another guy. Who's another? I would say maybe Chimaev, but Chimaev had a lot of fights, a little bit of hype before him.
No.
But I could kind of say it. I would say maybe him, but I would say more of a Bo Nickel. Someone that you took with almost no fights. I would say
you built
Alex Pereira. I would say possibly him. I know he had a kickboxing background. I know that he was a star.
Yeah.
Not in MMA though.
No, he only had a couple fights.
They built him up and made him a star.
Yep.
Conor McGregor had the whole country and came from Cage Warriors, but they still
he came from.
They still built him up though, John. He was still kind of like.
But he was a 2-division champion.
I got you.
Cage Warriors.
I got you. But I would say that like they know how to build stars. They know how to do it. They're probably the best in the game of building stars. And if that person is not really a star or doesn't have that, they can sure persuade people to believe that they are a star. And so I look at it, I don't think that they're worried about PFL or Bellator. And I don't think right now PFL and Bellator should be worried about the UFC or even talking about the UFC. Focus on what you guys are doing because you're doing something that no one's ever been able to do. Let's see if it works. And if it works, I think 30 shows this year across all boards.
They were talking about 38.
Something like that. I heard 30 this morning by Peter Murray, or yesterday. It was 30. Okay. 30 to 33, I think is what they were suggesting. So that's busy. That's busy. But we're gonna find out. No, neither one of them are worried about each other. They shouldn't be. They got to focus on their own stuff. Focus on their own stuff. Dave, let's do one last one. Go back to where you were. I'll ask the question. Let me see, where was it? Big John, how's Josh the Pork Thomson doing?
Dude, we were talking about him earlier. He is doing fantastic. Josh the Pork is bigger than Josh the Punk.
When you leave here, though, I need you to take a picture of the pork and then send it off to Dave, or give him a current picture so Dave can put this into the show. I want to see how big Josh the Pork is.
Unfortunately, right now he's about half the size of the 400-pound pigs that he's next to, so he looks half as big. Right. But he's actually, I have to separate him when I feed him because I have certain sounds and stuff, and he comes running over. He's funny because he squeals more than any of them as far as gets excited. But I'm always feeding him a little bit more, so he's growing pretty fast. He's holding his own, man. He's holding his own. He's got 3 women there in the whole area with him, and right now they're kicking his ass.
So he's not getting any tail yet.
Way more than him. Shoot, he couldn't even get up there, man.
Oh shit, that's so great. Well, buddy, if he's really a Josh the Pork Thomson, he won't stop trying. He'll keep going.
He'll take a running
start. That's right. Get it, young man, get it.
That's it. Go
ahead. All right, guys. Hey, that's going to wrap up our show for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go to WeighInMerch.com, WeighInMerch.com. Pick up some of our hoodies, our sweaters, our hats, our beanies, all the things that are available on there at WeighInMerch.com. Also, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Hit the little bell notifications. We can drop some shows. You guys caught our one. If you hit the bell, you caught the one that we dropped talking about the Kayla Harrison signing just recently. That's back a couple days. So let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell and notifications. Give us a thumbs up too, and drop a comment about any of the questions you guys may have. And I'm going to try to scroll through there and try to get in there and talk some trash to you guys. So I love that part. John doesn't do it as much, but for myself, I would love to do it. And hit us up. John, take us away, buddy.
Hey, for everyone out there, hope you enjoyed our answers. Thank you very much for the questions. One thing I do want to say, Brendan Schaub, I know that you're in a hard time right now with your daughter. God bless you. I hope everything goes. Prayers and wishes to you. Everything's going to come out okay. So for everyone out there, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you.